Starting this Monday, we will have the Central Indiana Scoreboard Show 7 days a week, at least through this summer. Hoping to continue that through the fall and 365 days a year. We have our Central Indiana Scoreboard Show. It's like the ESPN Radio Sports Center, but specialized for the Pacers, Fever, Colts, IU, Purdue, IndyCar, and a lot more around Central Indiana. Of course, including the best high school sports coverage in Central Indiana. Please join us for the Central Indiana Scoreboard Show every day of the week. Right now, you're listening to podcast number 276.2, our Indy 500 reaction with Michelle Garmon, with guests Dave Retherford and John Robertson sharing their thoughts on a great Indianapolis 500 today. And producer Susie's thoughts, too, as if anyone cares.
You're listening to the Central Indiana
Love you
Sports
so
Report
much, producer Susie.
with your host, Greg Mengels.
Welcome, Indy 500 fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report for our post-race coverage. I'm joined by Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader Sports Editor Michelle Garmon, and we expect to be joined by others coming up, but just wanted to get a start, get the results out there, and start the conversation because it was quite a race, Michelle.
Oh, it was. It's an interesting race. You crash before you get started, and then some other early incidences, sprinkles off and on. I'm just glad that the weather did hold off and that it didn't downpour, that it didn't play a super big factor in the outcome of the race.
And Kyle Larson got to leave a little early for Charlotte. So
He did. He did. I know he was anxious, but that's not the way he wanted to make sure he got to Charlotte in time.
That's right. All right. For those of you who don't know, and I'm sure everyone listening to this does, but I'm going to go through the results. And of course, Alex Palou, who deserved to win this race, won this race. He is now a 3-time champion. He's going to be a 4-time champion and now can add Indianapolis 500 champion to that. Already at a young age, moving toward all-time greatness.
Oh, most definitely. He's fun to watch, and for his age, his youth, kind of, because he still is young, especially comparing to me, but is the amount of patience that he shows. He's very calm, very steady. He's willing to wait to be able to, make his move. He doesn't try to force anything, and I'm gonna guess he is a dream to work with. That race team probably thoroughly enjoys having him working with him.
And to think it almost never happened because at one time Alex Palou and Ganassi Racing were suing each other. And here they are, very happy to be in each other's lives. Marcus Ericsson was second. That guy could be a 3-time champion already. He knows how to get around Indy. And again, as I said with Susie, as we were watching the race, just kind of showed up out of nowhere. Oh, here I am. I'm going to compete for the Indy 500 championship again. David Malukas, I believe, had the best car of the day and finished third. Pato Award was fourth. Felix Rosenquist, fifth. Kyle Kirkwood, man, what a year he's having. He finished sixth despite never really hearing from him all day. Santino Ferrucci had a nice car, finished seventh. Dane Christian Rasmussen was eighth, and Dane Christian Lundgaard was ninth. And Connor Daly finished 10th, Michelle, and that was really a bummer.
Yeah, it was, because I really hate it for Connor, local boy or local man, and he had a great car today. I mean, you had to think that in the back of his mind as he was going, the car was so good. He's got to be thinking, oh my gosh, is this my day, or can be my day. This can be my day, and then that vibration at the end that forced him to have to come into the pit, to slow down because he had to save fuel, and then forced him into the pits ahead of time. I just hate it for Connor. Such bad luck.
Yeah, really. He had a great drive today. imagine if he could get on a good team, what he could do at Indy. One of the top teams. That would
Oh,
be a good way to go for Ganassi or Andretti or one of those teams. If you want a guy who's going to be competitive Indy every year,
and know this, that you sign him, and you're definitely gonna have a crowd favorite on race day and for the month
no
of May
doubt.
when you're here.
Same thing with 11th place Takuma Sato. You want a guy who can be competitive at Indy late in his career, even though he's so old at this point, 48 years old, I believe.
Yes.
And he's still competitive. Another guy. So
Well, he
Callum
had the
Ilott,
dominant car early.
yeah, oh for sure. And he had some issues, or he probably would have been a factor late in the race. Callum Ilott was 12th, Elio Castroneves 13th, Devlin DeFrancesco 14th. Then Louis Foster, Nolan Siegel, who is going to be, those two are the front favorites for Rookie of the Year, I think. I believe Foster and Siegel are both rookies. Finished 15th and 16th. Colton Herta was 17th. Ed Carpenter, 18th, was competitive early. Will Power was never a factor, finished 19th. Graham Rahal was 20th. Marcus Armstrong, Jack Harvey, Scott Dixon, Ryan Hunter-Reay, who was leading the race late and had an issue, finished 24th. Joseph Newgarden looked like he was going to challenge for his third in a row, and then suddenly he was on fire, and that did not end well for him. Stingray Robb, Kyle Larson, Kiffin Simpson, Robert Sportsman, tough day for him. Started from the pole, ran into his pit crew on his way into a pit stop. Not a fun day for Robert Sportsman. I'm sure we'll hear from him again. And then some really good drivers, the last four: Renus VK, Alexander Rossi, Marco Andretti, Scott McLaughlin. Guys we expect to compete for the 500 championship, not be at the back. But they had a rough day, of course. McLaughlin crashed before the race even started.
Oh yeah, and I know your pick, Greg, was Scott Dixon. I said I felt terrible for him. That brake issue early. I don't know about you, but I thought at some point this is probably going to be a problem because he stayed out there. They were on fire, and I'm like, you just wonder just how much damage did it do to the wear and tear would not.
They were saying that it was just a matter of getting those brakes cooled, and I was thinking, man, that was an awfully big fire for not to be a serious issue.
Oh, that's what I thought. I'm sitting there thinking, bring him in and bring him in, and if you have to do it now before the race gets started, gives you almost an entire race to fight your way back. And if you
Yeah,
go, it could be worse.
and it got worse.
It did.
And it's kind of a shame he's a one-time champion. It's very similar to Mario Andretti. Just a win early in his career and just could never do it again. And as good as he is, the chances are dwindling for him.
Yes, but what a class act to go in to meet Palou and congratulate his teammate as he's making his way to the winner's circle.
All right, welcome to everybody once again. I'm joined by Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader, and we are talking about Alex Palou's Indy 500 championship. Again, Michelle, just a quick recap. Alex Palou is the best driver on the planet. Recap. Done.
Yes, he is. I know you and I know. Well, Will Retherford has said that from day one, and you agreed, and he is. And as I said, I just marvel at his steadiness and his patience and the way he just stays so relaxed in the car, and he doesn't do stupid things or doesn't take. I shouldn't say that. I should say he doesn't take silly chances.
Yeah. And you caught something when there was an accident that he probably saved his race.
Oh, he did. I mean, there was the accident happened behind, but that one coming off, it was such a slow. They were backed up. I think Rossi was leading the way, and or Hunter one of them, and everything was slowed. And somebody came up to him, squeezed him. He was in a line, and he literally let off and let guys kind of get around him, saved himself, and saved what would have been, I think, a really big accident, and probably could have taken out 3-4 cars. You know, that move right there, just watching that, I was just so impressed. And I don't know if people will catch it, if people will ever go back and replay that move or whatever. I'm it's the observer in me, like you, Greg. I like to watch the whole thing and pick out the little things, because
Right.
the little things are usually the difference between wins and losses. Definitely between championships and non-championships. And that was probably a little thing that most people aren't going to see, but I thought it was huge. It saved his day, definitely. And he ends up in, victory lane. And wow, what a what a season he's having. It'll be interesting to see how many races he ends up winning by the end of the season.
And it's such a competitive field. That's the thing is, there was a time where if you had a better car than everybody else, you were going to win most of the races, but that's just not the way it is anymore.
Oh
To do
no.
it in this era is, Scott Dixon had a run like this maybe 2003 or 4, early in his, just when Ganassi moved over to the IRL right before they remerged. Dixon had a year like this, but there just aren't very many in this era of IndyCar because it's just so hard to win races. There's so many good drivers. In fact, in our preview for this, Michelle, we had 9 different drivers picked to win the race, and none of those were Joseph Newgarden or Will Power. There were good drivers that none of us picked.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure that some of us, I don't know that, I don't think it would have changed it wasn't going to change my pick, but there may be some that didn't pick him because of them having to start at the back of the field. Although Tony Stewart he really thought Joseph Newgarden would make his way back and win his third win. At least that's what he said on the pre-race show. So
Yep. Yeah, for sure he had a chance. It just, when you're in the back, and we've seen this, I don't know, 6 or 7 times now, where the story going into the race was someone in the last row. Can they make the run through the field? And they always make a run, and it always ends up coming up short. There's
except for
just
Scott
something
Goodyear.
came up short. Just it doesn't seem like it seems like it's a very difficult thing to do as the favorite. Mario Andretti did it twice when he was driving in Formula One, and he couldn't qualify for himself. Tried to come through the field, got up to near the top 10, and then it went away. And it just seems like going all the way through the field, except for like Scott Goodyear, who did it mostly through the kind of lucky early stint where he was in the pits when it went yellow, and it helped him make up like 15 spots. Not that he had a great car at the end of the race, but very difficult to go through the field and march through the field and complete it, because it's never happened before.
Well, I think the 500. I think the 500 is a lot like sometimes big games or whatever. And you'll hear a lot of coaches say that, you know, you'd rather be lucky than good sometimes. And I think with the 500 being such, the 2.5 mile oval and everything, I do believe that you need to have a little bit of luck sometimes to come out ahead in Indy. Because there are a lot of talented drivers. There are some really good race teams. So sometimes it just does come down to a little bit of luck when a caution comes out. When it doesn't, you know, those kind of things. When if it ends early because of rain, are you right? In the right position. It's make no mistake. There is not a better race in motorsports than the Indianapolis 500.
I don't even know if it's close.
No, I don't think it is.
And it lost a little luster for a little while there. Never much. It's never lost much luster. But it did
No.
lose a little bit for a while, but it is completely and fully back.
Oh, it is. It is. And you just when I got to talk to Tony Kanaan that one time, and you even in his voice, and when he talks about it and his 500 win and just Indianapolis 500 and how magical and the speedway is and um, everything, it's held in reverence. And I believe there was a point in his career he couldn't, because when the split was, but he always believed he was going to get to race, that it would be better and he would get to race the Indianapolis 500. So,
Michelle, let me do a quick recap of the race before we go on. There was a slight delay in the beginning of the race because of rain, and then there were some delays because a couple of early wrecks, including Scott McLaughlin, who wrecked on the pace lap and then apologized to the entire family, including Susie McLaughlin. Do you accept Scott's apologies, Susie?
Of course, I accept Scott's apology. I know it was heartbreaking for him. It was heartbreaking for us, of course, to see it, but he, basically didn't even get out of the gate. And I know that's going to haunt him at least until next year, and hopefully he can make amends for himself there.
Yeah, but one day, a McLaughlin is going to win the Indy 500, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. There's Susie McLaughlin Mengelt standing up for her cousin, Scott, who had a really bad race today. Michelle.
No race.
Had
he
no
had
race.
a really bad race, and the sad part is you heard so much about how great his race car was or should be today, and no one got to see it. I felt so sorry for him, and and that apology, I thought, well, people, right there's one heck of a class driver to apologize to everyone, his family, his race team, his crew, even the fans. I mean, I, you just go, your heart just goes out to him. That I always hate to see pre-race crashes.
And as you heard from Susie of the McLaughlin clan, all good. We're going to forgive him and go cheer for him in Detroit.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Then, of course, I don't know if you knew this, Michelle, but today Scott Dixon drove his 408th IndyCar race, which is a new record, passing A.J. Foyt for the most IndyCar races ever. But he had a really rough day, too. And he had an air jack issue on a pit stop, and nothing went right for him all day.
No, it it didn't. His bad luck started before the race. So, as they're doing those first laps, when his brakes caught on fire. It was, he just, the I guess that was kind of a sign that it probably might not be his day, because you had to wonder just how serious the issue was, and would it make it, rear its head at some point in the race, because you don't really know how badly those brakes are damaged. And like you said earlier, Greg, that fire didn't look like it was just a small little thing.
No. It did not seem to me that brakes just needed to cool down, but I'm not an expert. They are. But that's not what it looked like to me.
No, it's not what it looked like to me, and I think that's what ended up being the case. I think it just
Yep.
burned his calipers out a little bit too much. So,
Yeah. Rough day in the pits, rough day on restarts.
oh yeah, and oh, the rookie, the pole sitter,
Yeah.
man,
Yeesh.
he nearly took out half his crew. And Indy is a tough place to pit in and out of, because it's tight fit. Pit lane isn't super wide, so but yeah, it makes you wonder sometimes if in practice they should maybe sometimes practice pitting a little bit.
Yeah, they don't get too much of a chance to do that. They do quite a bit on carb day, but one thing you never get a chance to practice is restarts, and drivers say that a lot. It's almost impossible to do, because you just can't practice it. It would take too much risk to practice it.
Oh yeah, and here's the bad thing is, on some of those restarts, if you're a driver that just happens to be up front, but one that's not up front very often, I think that's got to be very challenging and very difficult to do, because you don't want to be charged for jumping the restart, or going too fast, but yet, so you tend to err on the side of caution, and sometimes that can have worse effects.
That's right. By the way, what a horrible month of May for the Penske's. Ooh, just a horrible month.
Yes, it was probably about the only thing that went right. Well, two things that went right for the Penske's. One, the race sold out 350,000. That's
Yeah,
always nice. And second, Roger did the gentleman or driver start your engines today and
as
everything.
he
But
always
no,
does. Yeah.
pardon.
As he always does now.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he does do that.
It's supposed to be gentlemen start your engines, by the way.
Pardon?
I'm not happy with him for changing it to driver start your engines. We were different than everybody else with gentlemen start your engines, and then he just made it the same as every other race.
Well, I think he did that because he didn't want to have to change it if there was a female in the field.
For what? Ladies and gentlemen start your engines?
Yeah, that I don't have
It
a problem
always
with. I
worked.
don't know why. Maybe it's because then he doesn't ever have to worry about trying to remember if there's he's getting old. And so he doesn't have to try to remember if there's actually a female in the race or not.
There are traditions you shouldn't change, and the Indy 500, it was special in that they said, ladies and gentlemen, or gentlemen, start your engines. And Tony Holman started that tradition, and it never should have changed.
Hey, I'll tell you something. I learned something new this year, was that they asked the drivers what kind of milk they like, so they had their kind of milk in, when they serve up the milk in the Victory, there in Victory Lane, Winter Circle. I
There are
didn't know that.
33
I
bottles.
just figured they just had a cold thing, and I figured it was probably
17
whole
hours.
or 2% milk. I didn't realize that they actually asked drivers for their preferences.
33 different bottles waiting at the finish line, Michelle.
Wow.
One for every driver. They all have their own special bottle made for them for winning the 500. So 33 bottles waiting at the finish line for the 500.
See, you learn something new all the time. I never really realized that. I always saw the milk come out, and who was it? Was it Emerson Fittipaldi who
Yeah, let's
rarely
not
sit
talk
because
about
he
that
was
yet.
was he allergic to milk or something like that? I mean,
No, he was just an orange farmer.
okay.
So he wanted to drink orange juice, and he admitted how stupid it was, and it was stupid. It was stupid.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
milk.
and I would imagine since they do that and they take your request that if you are
Well,
lactose intolerant, they will have almond milk or something
well,
that kind of waiting for you.
Yeah, Elio started the tradition of pouring it on his head because he is lactose intolerant. He would take a tiny sip and then pour it on his head because he couldn't drink it. So they don't do almond milk with the Milk Association, Michelle.
Yeah, I didn't know they had special things for people that were allergic or lactose intolerant. So
Yeah. Well, that's why Elio takes a tiny sip and then pours it on his head when he wins and then that kind of started its own tradition.
yes.
Although who wants milk poured all over him? Ugh.
No, not me.
Ugh.
And to be honest, I couldn't drink a whole bottle of that milk anymore anyway. I think I've developed a little bit of a lactose intolerance. I tend to drink almond milk or oat milk, so if I drink milk when I drink milk, so
when you win the 500 next year, we know exactly what you'll be drinking, right, Michelle?
yeah. I'll tell you what, I would love to I would have loved to have been able to I think be talented enough to have and fortunate enough to be a race car driver. There's a lot more into it. Like I learned I knew it wasn't easy, but I learned just how difficult it can be when talking to Tony Kanaan.
It's all worth it. It'll
Oh,
immortalize you, that's for sure. What an event! By the way, Fox did almost a perfect job today with their coverage. They really made it a big deal. I don't know why they made Michael Strahan such a big deal because that guy, I don't know if anybody likes him. But
you know why? Because he's on Fox's NFL pregame show with Brax and those guys.
I know, but there were bigger deals than him there.
I agree. I agree with
and
that.
they just kept making it about him. And anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked with that. But Fox did a fantastic job. They need to make Kevin Lee the play-by-play announcer. Will Buxton just doesn't get the job done. Kevin Lee is the guy. Let's let's just do it now. He's got the passion for it, and he's a great voice. Kevin Lee should be the play-by-play guy. But otherwise, great job by Fox.
Yeah, I thought they did a pretty nice job too. The only little glitch they had was there at the end is you're watching the little lap tracker and it goes from 10 and I'm like, oh, that should be down to 9, and then I saw it drop to like 8, 6, 5, and then it went back up to 9. So whoever was controlling that for the TV graphics had just a momentary lapse, but yeah, no, coverage was pretty good. I won't complain. I'll agree with you on the play-by-play. Will Buxton was nice. He's got some nice insights, but he is not a play-by-play guy.
Yeah, not good enough. Not good enough for the 500. Dave, Alex Palou, the right winner, right?
I mean, he's very deserving, and obviously a major champion to not have won the Indy 500. So kudos to him. Seems like the emotion was awesome, and that's one of my favorite parts is just watching them at the end and how excited they are and how happy they are and their celebrations with their team. It's a cool moment for sure.
Yeah, a little bit of a bummer for Connor Daly fans. He looked like he had the car to win it. Just that one vibration the last 5 laps of his penultimate stretch there, and it's really too bad because we were dreaming of Indy 500 champion Connor Daly showing up at Game 3 tonight, weren't we?
100%. And honestly, I'm not sure if he doesn't have that vibration, doesn't have the issue. I mean, he lost 5 or 6 spots and all that, and then just couldn't catch him back up.
There was no passing at the end. Aerodynamically, it looked like they were just going in a parade, and that happens sometimes.
That, and with him having to make that early pit stop, he had to be on fuel conservation mode a little bit too when he came back out, because he had to end up pitting like two or 3 laps ahead of what they wanted him to be able to make the end of the race.
Yeah, I kind of thought the 32 laps they were seeing, it seemed like once they got back out there that maybe they could have really went 34 or 35.
I really think so. I thought they, especially when Sato and Castroneves went with, was it 69 laps to go? I was like, they know exactly how far they can go. They're not idiots. And then everyone else went. They're like, well, if Sato and Castroneves, who've won this race 6 times combined, just stop for fuel, they know what they're doing. And then everyone else did. And there was, they were telling Palou that he needed to conserve a little bit, but it never seemed like it was a big issue with those guys who went 34 or 35 laps.
Yeah, they weren't telling him that at the end, though. I mean, the last 10 laps, they were telling him to go.
Go for it.
They wanted him to get past the lap traffic, which I think probably worked to his advantage that they didn't in some ways, but obviously getting around those guys then at least separates you a little bit from your competitors behind you, and that could have helped too, but it made no difference. He still held them off.
Really felt like Malukas had the best car of the day, and it's a little bit of a bummer that Foyt didn't get the win. But again, I think the right guy won this race.
I agree with you. This is just Palou's year. It's a very special year. It's a dominating year, and you said it's going to turn out to be one of the most special years in IndyCar for a long time for a driver to just go out and do what he did. And I think he's also so likable. Alex Palou is just a very likable driver.
All right, Dave, prediction for the Pacers game.
Well, I want to say Pacers win, but you have to know that New York, knowing they're on they're on the fence here, they have to win this game. But you know what? They kind of had to win game 2 as well, and they didn't. So I never count this team out. They've just they're destined, I think, to win. And I hope that destiny continues because I'd like it to go even one more series longer, winning. So,
Dave, you and I went to the game that's probably the loudest game in Pacers history in 1994. This might be able to rival it tonight.
I think you're right, and that was an incredible memory.
We're still hurt.
Incredible memory that losing that game and not winning that series ultimately was a major disappointment.
Yeah, but it's what makes the pursuit of the championship still so much fun. That they've never won one, but it's time. It's time. And it's happening. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year. I think Oklahoma City's still the favorite. But it's happening in our lifetimes, Dave, with this group.
I'm not sure that it isn't. I'm not sure that it isn't their year. Again,
I'm not either.
They're healthy, pretty healthy at this point still. I mean, in physical series and things, I think that makes a big difference. So,
Dave Rutherford, thank you so much for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report with your thoughts on the Indy 500, and I will see you on Tuesday at work.
Absolutely. Go Pacers tonight.
Go Pacers. Now we're joined by John Robertson, our NBA guy, to talk some Indy 500. Everybody in Central Indiana wants to talk 500, right?
I mean, if you didn't watch the Indy 500 and you're from Indiana, or if you didn't at least listen to it, like, are you really from Indiana? Yeah.
You're not. You don't get the title Hoosier if you don't even care a little bit.
Yeah.
I get that. No, you're not an IndyCar fan or a racing fan, but if you don't care even a little bit, there's something wrong with you.
That's right. I'm a huge racing fan, and really the only IndyCar race I watch is the Indy 500. But like, you have to watch. Well, I normally listen to it. Yeah. That's kind of what I came in to say. Is like, today was the first time in my life I've ever been able to watch it live on TV, and it felt weird.
It is weird.
It felt
real. The first time you watch it live.
Yeah, it felt really weird. Like, I enjoyed it fine, but it just felt weird. So, how'd you enjoy the race?
Oh, it was great, and I think we got the right winner. I think that, to me, that's like the big thing with the 500 is, did you get the right winner? You know, I don't like fluke wins, and I think we got the right winner. Now, if Malukas had won, he had the best car all day. It would have been great to see with Foyt. And again, the official driver of the Central Indiana Sports Report is Connor Daly, and he really had a shot today, and a bit of a letdown to see him fade. But great race. And really, a race dominated by the smaller teams. You had Foyt, of course. You had Junkos Hollinger with Daly. You had Ferrucci with Foyt. All kinds of course, Sato with RLL, Rahal Letterman. Just all kinds of the small teams getting in there, and love seeing that. But in the end, Alex Palou is just in the middle of a, what do they call? What do the kids say? In the middle of a heater?
He's in a heater.
Is that what they say?
I mean, they said that about 5 years ago, but the way language changes amongst the kids, who knows?
I don't know. I don't know where we are in the language right now, John.
Yeah, I mean, I try to keep up with it, but you never know. It shifts so fast.
I still have Gen X lingo. I'm still like same. Awesome, and
Yeah, I think I actually used some stuff the other day that the kids didn't know what it was from our generation.
Nice.
I think I said bogus, and they were like, "What's bogus?"
Bogus. Mine was gnarly. They were like, "What's gnarly mean?" That was a gnarly crash. What? Huh?
I was actually a little disappointed at Joseph Newgarden. Like, fell out because of fuel pressure issues. I thought he was making a good run, and I thought that was a good storyline to start from the back and make his way up. You know,
it would have been a big strike against Karma if Penske had won this race.
That's totally fair. I'm just saying, like, you know, I don't mind that he doesn't win. I just, when you're making that good of a run, I would have rather him fallen out for a different reason than just fuel pressure issues. I'm not a Joseph Newgarden fan by any means. I just,
yeah, I see. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the other thing. As I can't stand. He needs to stop trying to do the double. Larson needs to stop trying to do the double because he
Come over to IndyCar full time.
Sure, I don't care. Pick one, but like he wrecked Stingray Rob because he doesn't know how to downshift. My daughter knows how to downshift a car better than Larson did because like that's what caused him to spend. Like, listen, I'm just saying, if you can't downshift from 3 to 2 without losing your back wheels, you shouldn't be in the Indy 500. That's my hot take.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. I think Kyle Larson, you are banned for life from the Indy 500 unless you become a full-time IndyCar driver. And I think
I don't know. I think Tony Stewart would disagree with you guys. He thinks
final judgment. John and I just made it.
Well, I mean,
Tony Larson called Kyle Larson perhaps the most talented driver out there.
Well, Tony Stewart's going to love Kyle Larson because Tony Stewart is all about sending it into other people, and if you ruin their day, who cares? As long as you're trying to move that he likes, and that's kind of Kyle Larson's
MO, Kyle
right?
Larson, give him credit. He apologized.
He did.
He blamed for the wreck afterwards, and not every driver will.
That's fair, but it doesn't put Stingray Rob back in the field.
That's right. You take out Stingray, you're our enemy now.
That's right.
That's true, but really, how much of a chance does Stingray Rob really have to win?
He has infinitely more chance when he's still in the race and not taken out by somebody who can't downshift.
He's named after a cool car. What else do you need?
I'm just saying, like, I know there's lots of Larson fans. I know he's probably the number one most like NASCAR guy too, but it just drives me nuts when he does these
Speaking of people who can't be criticized, since it's the three of us here right now, and I know we're talking Indy 500, Caitlin Clark about the officials after missing 12 shots and having 10 turnovers is the most incredible thing I've ever seen.
I've never said it was the refs. You did not hear that
from
me.
No, Caitlin Clark complaining about it.
Oh.
Complaining about the refs after playing like ass.
Well, here's the problem with Caitlin. She is so used to it, and it's not totally her fault. She got all those calls in college. And I said at the time, my sister and I would sit there and say, they are doing her no favors for the next level because she's not going to get these same calls. She's just not. And, I still say she was not fouled or hammered. I saw on Twitter somebody said she got hammered on that last play. No, she didn't. I even saw it from the other angle. And the girl poked in with the left. If Caitlin Clark was a little bit better fundamentally, and I've seen this, and I've said this is the one issue she has, she doesn't cross over to her left hand early enough when she's dribbling left. She likes to take 2 or 3 dribbles with her right hand going left. When you do that, you just leave the ball right there for the defender. That's what I've always instructed kids that I've taught basketball. If you're going left, the ball's got to be in the left hand because then they have to come across you. All
I'm saying is you can't complain about the officials when you miss 12 shots and have 10 turnovers.
No.
Okay, so hold on. Well, so I know this is the Indy 500 podcast or whatever, but I'm not. You can't, like, I get what you're saying and I hear you, but it wasn't just Caitlin Clark. Sophie was unhappy with the refs. Steph White was unhappy with the refs. I'm not going to let you. I'm just saying, I'm not going to let you guys sit here and say it was only Caitlin just because it was a lot of them. I'm not saying, I agree with you.
Has double-digit shots and has double-digit turnovers cannot speak about the officials as a reason for the loss. Period. End of story.
Fair enough, but like I'm not going to sit here for the clickbaity Caitlin stuff. It was multiple people, not just Caitlin.
No, and it might have been, but I still say she looks, and she does complain more sometimes when she does because she got those calls in college. Well, you're not at Iowa anymore, Caitlin. You're not.
I think that's just part of her personality. She's fiery. She's frustrated. It happens. I don't think that I think it's a non-story. I think it's a nothing burger. That's me. I think anyway. I think that yes.
That was my only point. Nothing against her. We love her, of course.
Yesterday's game came down to a couple of blown opportunities. If they'd played better earlier, those calls don't matter, and that's the same thing we say about everything. Like,
and they weren't even bad calls.
Well, they got up
50-50 calls. That's all.
Well, why? And they were up 12 at one point. I mean, they were down, and they came back and they got up 12. And then what, they were still at 10, and they had like, I think 3 possessions where they could have just probably put New York away and just couldn't get it done.
So Kyle Larson, we agree, shouldn't be driving the double anymore?
No, I'll tell you what. I've always said this. I think the double has always been a nice thing. Even when Tony Stewart wanted to do it, they always think it'd be so great to have that win. But the timing, it just makes it gives you no wiggle room. It means you're not totally committed to your 500 team, and you're not totally committed to your Coca-Cola 600 team.
Well, that kind of is where I fall into. I think what happened with Larson is he got in his own head because of the rain delay. Even though it wasn't that long of a delay, it was a little bit of a delay, which got in his head. So he knew he either had to send it to put himself in a great spot or just get out of the race. So I don't think he was fully. I'm not trying to rip on the guy. He's probably a better driver than me. I doubt, maybe, but. I'm just saying
from Shelbyville while doing the podcast, so you're pretty good.
I did. I made it home from Shelbyville while doing the podcast, and I didn't wreck, and I beat my Waze time. I beat the Waze predicted time by 4 minutes, so that's always the game we go for. I made it to and from church with no speeding tickets today. That's a win.
Because you were in the vet, right?
Yes, I was.
So how's your daughter doing? She recovered?
She's taking a nap after Stingray got wrecked by Kyle Larson. She decided to take a nap.
So she can stay awake and be ready to cheer on the Pacers
tonight? We're ready for the Pacers game tonight. I think I'm going to go relax for a little bit and then get ready for the Pacers because I would like, since we're talking other sports a little bit, I think the Pacers learned their lesson from the first 2 series. They're going to come out game 3 fired up and play well. They're not going to, Cleveland came in and won game 3 in Indiana in round 2, and I don't think they're going to let that happen. I think we're going to go up 3-0 tonight.
I'm kind of thinking so. Because I do think maybe unlike the Cleveland game, I think this may be even a little bit more important than the Cleveland game 3, just because we've got the Knicks in a position where they're gassed. I mean, mentally, physically a little, but we don't want to give them anything to give them a little extra juiced up or to rejuvenate themselves or believe that they're going to come back. Of the two, of game 3.
And we'll be talking about all that tonight with the Pacers and Knicks reaction. We'll be talking Fever later this week. We'll have more Pacers. We'll have more 500. We'll be talking to the people who were there about their experience at the 500 on Monday. And we got lots of stuff coming up, lots of high school stuff. We're in the postseason. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And thanks, everyone, for listening to this 500 recap with Michelle Garmon. And we had guests David Retherford and John Robertson join us. And it's been a lot of fun, guys.
It is very not gonna lie. I'm about to come up to the point where I say I love you on the podcast every day. How sweet is that of me? Every day. I say that I love you on my podcast. It's pretty sweet. Most wives are probably jealous. My husband doesn't say I love you every day on the podcast. That's right. Central Indiana Sports Report is brought to ITG Media. Here I go. I'm going to be romantic now.
Okay.
I love Susie.